What's good, guys? The Jimmy Butler sweepstakes is finally over. Just a couple minutes ago, we found out Jimmy Butler is going to the Golden State Warriors. The Golden State Warriors are the winners of the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes, and it is finally over. It's kind of funny because a couple of days ago, after the Luka trade, we were kind of wondering, like, is Jimmy Butler going to get traded? Like, Jimmy even had, well, a report came out that Jimmy had even came out and told Miami, the front office, that, hey, I wouldn't mind coming back, I just need to get in shape, blase, blase. But, of course, Miami was going for it, and they shipped him out, and as they should. Jimmy Butler would not, regardless of the statement he gave Miami, that just was not going to happen. Him going back to Miami and everything being all good. It was just too much that happened, too much that occurred. And that locker room was never going to be the same. Jimmy he wasn't a cancer. I don't want to use the word cancer, but he was a big distraction. There's no doubt that he was a big distraction. He definitely was affecting probably the performances of some players, the way some players moved. You just got to get something like that out. And he goes to Golden State. Now, the full details of this trade, because this is a 4-team trade. Jimmy Butler goes to the Warriors. The Miami Heat get Andrew Wiggins and P.J. Tucker and the first-round pick that is protected. The Pistons get Lindy Waters Jr., Josh Richardson, and a second-round pick. The Jazz get Dennis Schroeder. The Raptors get Kyle Anderson. So let's break this down team by team. First team, Golden State Warriors. You get Jimmy Butler, but you give up Andrew Wiggins. You give up Andrew Wiggins and Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder was definitely a rotational piece for them, and he put in some good minutes, had some good moments, had some bad moments, but he just didn't all the way fit into that system. Same with Kyle Anderson. They just didn't fit into the Warriors system of moving, all that motion, all that ball movement. It just really wasn't too accustomed for their game. And so I'm really not too pressed about the loss of those two players. If I was a Warriors fan, I wouldn't be. Of course, like, they had their moments this season. They put in good work, but they're not losses that if I'm a Warriors fan, I'm over here like, oh, we lost Kyle Anderson and Dennis Schroeder. Oh, like, it's really not that big of a deal. The Andrew Wiggins loss is a big difference. Now, of course, you get Jimmy Butler, and Jimmy Butler is phenomenal. From a talent perspective, he's better than Andrew Wiggins. From every perspective except for like age and contract, he has the ups over Andrew Wiggins. There's no denying that. But Andrew Wiggins was just so critical. He was such a key piece for this Warriors team. He did so much for them, even going back to when he was All-Star when they made that finals run. Then of course he goes out for a little while, dealing with some personal issues. It takes him a while to get back into the groove, but this season he had been playing decent. Not All-Star level, but not as bad as he was when he had first came back. And just losing a player like this is pretty huge. And I know Warriors fans, I've already seen some Warriors fans, they are missing Andrew Wiggins. And as you should. Andrew Wiggins was huge for this franchise, as I mentioned. He did a lot. And when he was in Golden State, I feel like their team just meshed well together. Not saying they're not going to mesh well with Jimmy Butler, but it's different when certain roles are already established. Jimmy Butler was a star player. He's been the number one option pretty much everywhere he's been at except for Chicago. And Andrew Wiggins wasn't that. He wasn't that in Minnesota. And with Golden State, he kind of just fit in whatever role that he was supposed to play, whether that was letting Steph Curry and Klay get off and he just defends, or whether that was, okay, Steph gets off, but it's not Klay's night. Now I'm the number two option. Or even, in a rare case, Steph and Klay not getting off. Or he's just playing so well, he can fit in for both of them. That kind of dynamic kind of shifts now that Jimmy's here. Jimmy has to be accustomed to not being the number one option anymore. Now, he's played with superstar talents in the past. As we know, he played with Joel Embiid back in the day, but ever since then, he hasn't really had experience with a player to the same magnitude of Stephen Curry. And that's definitely something he's going to have to get used to. I'm curious as to how he's going to adjust. But that's what the Warriors lost. Andrew Wiggins is a huge loss. Whatever. We're going to get to how he would benefit Miami next. But Jimmy Butler on the Warriors. So if I'm looking at this current Warriors roster, things get kind of interesting, do they not? So, of course, what I would assume your starting lineup is going to be Steph Curry, Gary Payton II, Jimmy at the 3, Draymond at the 4, and at the 5, maybe Trace Jackson Davis, maybe Kevon Looney. I don't know. I would think more so they would come off the bench. Who knows? And also the Warriors signed Jimmy to a 2-year, $121 million contract. So Jimmy won, in all honesty. He went to one of his preferred trade destinations, A, and he got the contract that he wanted. 2-year extension, $60 million per year. I think that's going to make him the highest paid player in the NBA or on the Warriors, one of the two. So, shouts out to Jimmy. Jimmy got exactly what he wanted. Great. From a Golden State Warriors perspective, though, I don't really know how to feel about this. Steph Curry is amazing, but is a big three of Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green really moving you? Is that doing any damage to any other team in the West? Is that doing any damage to OKC? Is that doing any damage to Los Angeles, depending on what moves they make? Is that doing any damage to Houston Rockets, depending on how they look in the future? The Nuggets. I don't think it moves the needle for the Warriors that much. Now, of course, a great move. From a talent perspective, this is a huge upgrade. You have another true ball handler and shot carrier next to Stephen Curry. So that's good. It takes some pressure off Steph. But I don't know. Jimmy, at this point in Jimmy's career, Jimmy's, of course, he's good. He played great earlier this season, but I don't think this takes them very far. I don't think this moves the needle. I think this was more of a desperation move for the Warriors. You couldn't get any other superstar. No other superstar wanted to really go to Golden State. They struck out on multiple superstars. Katie even came out earlier today and said, I don't want to go to Golden State. I don't even want to play for the Warriors again. I don't want to play for Draymond Green. And that's kind of been the consensus for the Warriors over the years for whatever reason. So now you get Jimmy Butler in the what I would, not as a desperation move, this sounds kind of crazy, but kind of like a last resort. And I just don't know if that puts the Warriors where they might think they could be at. And I don't know if that extension makes it any better because Jimmy Butler's 34. I think Steph is 35. Draymond's up there in age too. Future's looking bleak, man. The future is looking bleak. And then with that new Jimmy Butler contract, your salary cap gets kind of tight. What are you going to do with players like Jonathan Kuminga who have an extension coming up? Moses Moody. One of them, they're definitely not going to have room to sign them in the future. One of them is more than likely, undoubtedly, probably going to get moved within the near future just because there's no way you're going to be able to pay Steph Curry the money you're paying him, Draymond Green the money you're paying him, Jimmy Butler the money you're paying him, and another player. Just not enough money in the world. And, of course, we know with the new CBA rule, the second apron, all of those things, it affects the way you can play players. So, just hard for me to see how they would be able to even really build around this new big three that they have. Like, the roster itself, it's kind of shallow. And even your players outside of those big three, I wouldn't say they're so good or needle movers in any type of way to help this team even get to the heights that they want to get to. Now, of course, there's always the possibility of Steph Curry being Steph Curry in the playoffs, Jimmy Butler being Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, Draymond Green doing his thing on defense, this and that. Of course, there's always a possibility. But when I look at this roster, honestly and truthfully, it's just Buddy Hield hasn't really been playing well. Moses Moody's cool. Gary Payton Jr. Paz hasn't really had the best season. I don't really know how I feel about Golden State. I'm not gonna say they're losers. It's just one of those things where it's like, I don't love the move. I would honestly try to probably win a different direction or try something else. And I just think that speaks to this front office. Steph Curry's in his later years, he's aging. And with him aging, the Warriors aren't going to want to sell. They're not going to sell. Steph Curry has done too much for that franchise, has brought them three or four rings at this point. So with all he's done for that franchise, you can't just go and say I'm gonna sell and just waste your last years like how the Lakers did Kobe. It's not something you do for Steph Curry. You try to go all in and build around him, but look at what they're building. It's not really hasn't really been very good. Just point blank period. I'm very curious to see how this works out, not only this season, next season, just to see what moves they do. But I just don't really have the biggest hope in the Warriors in the future, just to be quite frank. But let's go to the Heat. The Heat, you get Andrew Wiggins, PJ Tucker in the first round pick. The Heat's roster is not at all title contenders, none of that. But they're a sneaky and they're a deep team. They can definitely give plenty of teams in the Eastern Conference some primes. Tyler Herro, he just got elected to All-Star. Bam Adebayo, Kelly Ware. He's kind of showing some flashes, kind of showing some good things this season and possible and good reasons to kind of have faith in him in the future as possibly emerging into something. Not saying he's going to be a star, not saying he's going to be a superstar, but looking darn good this season. There was somebody like Jimmy Butler off the team. Now he kind of has more free range to do what he wants to do, especially with the plays types of everybody on that team. Nobody on the team is probably taking too many shots away from him except for like Tyler Herro. So it's cool. You get Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is going to be huge for that roster. He's going to be huge. I love Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is amazing. PJ Tucker's good. The first round pick, I believe, is protected. So depending on how well the Warriors are, they could get that pick back. It depends. But the Heat are good at drafting. So if the Warriors don't end up getting that pick back, I think it's like top 14 protected, if I'm not mistaken. I could be lying on that. Could be lying. But Heat get that pick, make a good draft pick. Who knows? Who knows what's next? And I'm really good. The biggest W for Miami is just getting this distraction out of Miami. This Jimmy Butler situation has been plaguing them for weeks, really months, arguably. And just to kind of get that out of the locker room, it's like a breath of fresh air. You don't have Jimmy Butler. You don't have that drama, all of that stuff in the air anymore in Miami. Your locker room's clean. Everybody can just go out there and just be strictly focused on hoops. You don't have to have Eric Spoelstra going up to the presser and over here telling people, hey, I just want to talk about the game. And still getting asked questions about Jimmy Butler. Don't have to worry about that anymore because it's all gone. It's all gone. They've been relieved of that. Them boys just get to really go out there and hoop and get to see what these players they have now can do. Miami got a sneakily deep roster. I'm very curious to see what they do with that in the future. Everybody else, the Jazz, you get in Schroeder, okay. Raptors get Kyle Anderson. Not really too significant. Just people helping facilitate the trade. But yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts on the trade. Miami, I like what you got back. I kind of like the way this roster is going in the future. Just what you gonna do with it now? As for the Warriors, I don't know. Like I said, Jimmy Butler's amazing, but I don't really know how to feel like oh yeah, you're buying, but you could have got KD, but KD didn't want to go there. You could have got this. Nobody wants to go there, so I don't know. Jimmy has a good track record of proving people wrong, and I'm never going to sit up here and go against Steph Curry. Maybe Draymond Green. I also don't think Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green really conflict a lot. Those are two, although the more boisterous, more dramatic, when I say dramatic, more stars who've had drama surrounding them throughout their careers. Although that is kind of what follows them, I don't see them really getting into it a whole lot. They have strong personalities, but at the end of the day, they're professionals and they understand the game of basketball. Despite everything that happens and that has happened throughout their career, they understand each other. I think there's a level of respect that's already been established. Maybe some problems come up here and there, of course, just with those two type personality types. You never know. But I think they'll be solid. It's just that the Warriors. Oh, sneakily, Lindy Waters to the Pistons. That's a decent little pickup. I like Lindy. I think he's a decent player. Probably wasn't really going to do much in the Warriors, so it's glad he gets to go somewhere like the Pistons, who the phase that they're in, they're just rebuilding. They're just rebuilding. They're just going out there trying to see who can play for them and who can go alongside Kate Cunningham, Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, and kind of take them somewhere. So, hey, Lindy, go ahead, ball out. But, yeah, for the Warriors, I don't know. I'll probably have an official grade for them once we get later down the line. And, of course, more details have to come out, one sort of thing. So, when my trade deadline video drops later this week, make sure y'all tune in. I'll have a grade for them, grade for the trade, all of that. But offer up, I just don't love the trade. It's just quite that simple. I don't love the trade for either team. I mean, not for either team, but for the Warriors. I don't love it for Miami either, but I'm not necessarily as down on it as I am with the Warriors. But yeah, that's all I got. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. How do y'all feel about this trade? Do you feel like the Warriors won? Do you feel like Warriors got significantly better? Do you feel like the Warriors didn't get significantly better or arguably got worse? Do you feel like the Heat got significantly better? I don't know. Just let me know how you feel in the comments. Make sure you subscribe. Turn on post notifications. I'm dropping videos like this all the time. And yeah, that's all I got. Until next time, peace.